Pastor Dave and Liberty Lodge from welcome to share a message with you tonight. The message tonight is a tale of two gardens. I have something I want to read right from the beginning. The Bible is a story of two gardens, Eden and Gethsemane. In the first, Adam took a fall. In the second, Jesus took a stand. In the first, God sought Adam. In the second, Jesus sought God. In Eden, Adam hid from God. In Gethsemane, Jesus emerged from the tomb. In Eden, Satan led Adam to a tree that led to his death. From Gethsemane, Jesus went to a tree that led to our life. I am a very grateful man. I've been forgiven of a lot. I just want to tell you right from the beginning, I love Jesus with all my heart. I should be dead, in prison, anything else but standing here right now tonight. So I give all glory to God for even being here tonight. I'm going to challenge your mind a little bit tonight. I'm going to start with 1 John. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. And the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. Through him all things were made. Without him nothing was made that has been made. In him was life, and that life was the light of men. The light shines in the darkness, but the darkness has not understood it. I'm a firm believer in going to the beginning of everything and starting at the root. First part of the Bible. First sentence of the Bible. In the beginning. God created the heavens. And the earth. Time. Space. Matter. The very first sentence of the Bible, the very first word spoken in our word, is probably the most scientific and complicated sentence in the entire Bible. In that sentence, God lays out the format for all of existence, the things that are required, time, space, and matter. That wasn't proven until the 20th century by scientists. They finally came up with the idea, and they finally realized that it requires all three of those to have life, every bit of it. Now, it sounds like a very simple sentence, and scientists balk at it and say, oh, this is just a fairy tale, this is just a story in the Bible. And like I said, this is a tale of two stories. And we're going to go on a little journey here for a minute. How many of y'all have heard of the Garden of Gethsemane? How many of y'all know it's a real place? That in this state today, there are still ancient olive trees that cross the Kidron Valley on the Mount of Olives. How many of y'all believe it was a Garden of Eden?
Yep.
How many of y'all know it was a literal place? Do you? Or do you believe it's a fairy tale? A children's story? Does it seem too far-fetched? That it wasn't real? If you can't believe the very beginning, you can't believe any of it. And if you can't believe any of it, you can't believe Jesus came and did what he did and saved us, and there's no point in being here. Okay? Entertain me for a second here. What's called a teleological argument for the existence of God. The word teleos means purpose or goal. It takes a purpose to have a purposer to have a purpose. A design implies a designer. If you're walking down the beach and you saw a pocket watch, a fine pocket watch sitting there, you wouldn't presume for a second that time, water, and sand produced this watch. such as like if you took a Lamborghini, you took it completely apart, took all the parts that were necessary for a Lamborghini, put it in the woods, and threw as many hurricanes or tornadoes as you could through there, not once will that ever assemble a perfectly running Lamborghini. Right?
Right.
And part of your mind might be thinking, well, it might be possible. If enough times happen, no. Random chance never produces anything like that. And so much more the human body is, as far as being the most complex organism ever made, God's special creation. One strand of the human DNA has over 3 billion pieces of information. One strand. There's millions of them in our body. The human brain, I don't know, how many of y'all struggle with not having enough space in your phone? Not enough gigs. The human brain has over 10 billion gigabytes that we're aware of. At this point. We seem to think that we know, scientists seem to think they got the answer, and the next thing you know, they don't know. And there's more, they got to keep going deeper. That's just the way God works. The earth and the universe for which it was designed, in Isaiah 40:22, it says that God looks upon the circle of the earth. He gives his view, all the way back 3,500 years ago, he gives his view from the beginning, that they didn't even know the earth was round until recently, within a few years, with Galileo. But he knew that, and he just sat there, and he wrote it down for us. We scoffed at it, we balked. I'm saying all this to say, if you don't believe in God, you're allowed to be wrong. But God exists. So God planted a garden. He created all the universe. God, who knows that God does everything extravagantly? You know, people like to think, oh, there's aliens and different life forms and all this kind of stuff and whatever. God made all the universe exactly the way he wanted it, so big and so extravagant. And in that he put an earth that is so perfectly placed that if the earth was 2 degrees tilted away from the sun, we'd all freeze to death. 2 degrees closer, we'd all burn up to death. The situation that it requires life on earth is so perfectly balanced. The mathematical odds against it happening by accident are more than the atomic particles completely in the entire universe combined.
Yeah.
But we'll still sit there and say, oh, there's no God. There's no God. We just you'd rather believe that there's no God than to believe there's a God who loves us and has a moral law for us, but we're rebellious in our hearts. So God created the heavens, the earth, and then he created a special place called Eden, the cradle of all civilization. Anybody in here ever set up a nursery in their home? I know I did. I have 2 daughters, lovely daughters. And each one we set up a nursery. And I'm just a sinful, human, fallen man. I spent a lot of time getting everything just right, get that environment, the right things hanging from the ceiling, the right chew toys, everything safe, just right. What do you think of God who can do anything and has every resource in the entire world, but how's he going to make it?
Yeah.
Eden was our nursery. He created an environment to have man and have relationship with him. Now, there's a little story prior to that. There's an angel named Lucifer. He was God's most perfect creation at the time. We all know the story on him. I'll read a little bit of that. Isaiah 14, 12 and 15. It's a sad tale when you really think about it a little bit. It's God speaking. How you have fallen from heaven, O morning star, son of the dawn. You have been cast down to the earth, you who once laid low the nations. You said in your heart, I will ascend to the heaven. I will raise my throne above the stars. I will sit enthroned on the mount of assembly on the utmost height of the sacred mountain. I will ascend above the tops of the clouds. I will make myself like the Most High. But you were brought down to the grave, to the depths of the pit. Those who stare at you, they ponder in your fate. Now, there's always the argument of why would God create a creature that could fall? There's a guy in Okeechobee, his name is John Glenn. He has a statement that I've held on to for a lot. He says, anything less than Jesus Christ himself is dysfunctional and has the potential to fall. Because if it's not, he would have been God himself. So he had in him the ability to fall. Follow me here. So, why would God do that? Why would he have someone create something that's so pretty, so beautiful, and so... this guy was smart. He was sharp. He was the top of the top. Even to this day, he still goes before God in the throne room. God allows him to live just by his own grace and mercy on him, because he has a place for him. He's already defeated. But he's still allowed to live at this point. God still has a purpose for him as well. So, if he has the ability to fall, why did God create him? Have any of y'all ever been in love? Mad head over heels in love with somebody and spent time chasing that person? And some of us have done that a little too much of that in our lives. Right? God wants to be worshipped. He wants to be loved. So he created a situation for all of us to fall in love with him. So Satan, y'all have children. You can look at somebody. You can look at people's children, and you can look at certain people. You don't see it sometimes yourself, but if you, like a child or a son or a daughter comes in a room with their parent, all of a sudden you can see the image of the parent in the person, either the eyes or the face or a mannerism or something. You see an image of the parent in the child, right? God said, let us make them in our image. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. We're body, soul, and spirit. We're a three-part being. But Adam and Eve, when they were created, they weren't just like normal human beings. They were the best of the best of the best. And they were radiant. Radiant with God's glory. We know the story where Moses is up on the mountain with God. Just a short brief of time, they had to put a veil over his face because he had so much radiate out of him that people couldn't like, oh God, you're radiating. Can you imagine what the first creation was like and how they radiated? Do you think that agitated Satan? Imagine he's on the ground, having to swirl around the ground, serpent eating dust, which, by the way, dirt. The Greek word for that is Adama, the word we get Adam from. So he's having to roll around on Adam. God's creation, he's having to eat his dirt. God's sticking it to him in the face. Literally. And here he is, he sees God's greatest creation just glowing. God set up this perfect environment for him, where he can sit there and just bask in God and walk with God on a daily basis. And here Satan was sitting there and went, I was pretty once. I was all that. Right? He's the beginning of all pride. He's the beginning of all rebellion. Once you know he was scheming and thinking of how he's going to get to man, he's not dumb. He's very smart. He didn't lose his intellectual abilities. But boy, he's vicious. So he's in the garden, and Adam and Eve are in there, enjoying themselves, basking in God. God made it real simple for Adam and Eve. Enjoy everything. Enjoy it all. Just not that. Don't eat from that tree. Now, knowing that Adam and Eve also were not gods themselves, they were sons of God. They were made in God's image, but if they were exact representation in every essence of God, then they would be perfect and therefore not need a God. They would be God. You follow the logic in that. Okay. So Satan, already knowing this, already has a propensity to think, already knowing that they have the propensity to fall, he's looking for the end. He's looking for the ability to get in and cause death somehow. Granted, he doesn't have the Bible at this point. He doesn't know the end. He doesn't know any of that stuff. All he knows is he sees an image of God in front of him and he hates it. Now, in Genesis 3, I always find this very interesting. Now the serpent was more crafty than any of the wild animals the Lord God had made. He said to the woman, "Did you really say, you must not eat from the tree in the garden?" We've all heard that verse a bunch of times. If you had a serpent come up to you and talk to you, would you be a bit freaked out?
Yeah.
So it might imply that they've been talking to him prior to this. And then, have any of y'all ever worked anybody in the past? Warmed them up a little bit, manipulated them, helped them out, see what their story is. I don't think a snake just comes up and starts talking to you and you're like, "Oh yeah, okay, I'll just go ahead and try and eat that tree. Thanks for the advice." They had a little bit of a relationship with it, right? Possible. Bible doesn't say everything else about that, but I tend to go there with that. So he's looking for an end. What's the end? What's the sin? What's the sin of sins that created all this problem? I mean, you got to stop and think, how did this decision that they made cause death for every human being ever from then on? I mean, there's a physical aspect to that, to a willful decision that they made. Right? There's a physical representation of something that happened inwardly. So, the first sin, what is it? Pride. Started with who? Satan. Okay. So Satan has this in him. He's a father of what? He's a father of lies. He's a father of pride. He's a father of rebellion. He has that in him. What was his problem in heaven? He wanted to ascend to be greater than God. He no longer wanted to serve because he's a praise and worship leader in heaven. That wasn't good enough for him. He wanted to be God. I want to be the Most High. I want to be up here. How many of y'all ever said, "I'm not doing that. I'm better than that. I'm not pulling weeds. I'm not scrubbing toilets. I'm not working 15 minutes extra, not on the clock." It's the same sin. It's no different. I'm better than this. I'm better than that. It's the same exact sin. It's no different. It's just not as grandiose, but it's the same in God's eyes as it was for Satan. God cannot stand for pride. Proverbs 16:18. Pride goes before destruction, and haughty spirit before a fall. When pride comes, the shame, then comes shame. But with the lowly comes wisdom. Before destruction, the heart of a man is haughty, and before honor is humility. You start to see a comparison here of what's going on. We got pride here, in Proverbs talking, we got pride here and we got humility here. We got two diametrically opposed ways of thinking and acting. So where did Adam and Eve go wrong? Genesis 3, 1 through 7. Just go through the whole story. They doubted what God said. God said, "Do this, just don't do that." God, who knows we have a free will here, and God gave us a free will. He gave the angels a free will too. They have the ability to choose. Otherwise, they wouldn't have fallen. So they have, it's a little bit different, but we have a free will, and we can either choose to honor God with it or not. God's big enough and He's sovereign enough to allow that to happen. He's not scared. He's not freaked out. Ooh, they might make a bad decision. He knows we're going to make a bad decision. maybe multiple ones. So Adam and Eve are in the garden, and Satan gives them, and he breathes. You can almost hear the slithering in it. Surely he didn't say. Slick. Just enough doubt. You know, and he raised that thing up that was in him. He knew that it laid in there, that little rebellion, that little, I don't have to do this, I don't have to do that. He tickled that thing. Wait to see what happened. He knew it was there, just didn't know how to get to it. Boy, he waited, and then he saw the opening. Bang! And he went at it. First goes Eve. And Adam's standing there. Isn't that ignorant?
Yeah.
He knew what was going on.
Yeah.
They weren't naive. They knew exactly what they should and should not do. They had a moment of crisis with their free will. At that point, she was right, she was wrong. So just as God breathed life in the man from the dirt, Satan breathed death through a lie. It attached itself to our free will, which then created a separation between man and God. And at that moment, every human being has died from that point on. Now, if that was the end of the story, that would be really sad. Satan thought that was the end of the story. He's so prideful, he's like, "Shut! I got him! Gotcha!" No. Satan's here. God's here. Sovereign. Overlooking everything. He's already got it mapped out. He knows what's going on. He's sovereign. He's always in control. A million moves ahead. Now you can get in the argument of why would he allow all this to happen if he knew it was all going to be a mess? What's the point? Seems like a big mess for nothing. Well, when we get to heaven, we'll be able to ask him that question. I'm looking forward to that. But in the process, he had a plan. Satan didn't figure on Jesus Christ.
No.
Thank you, Jesus. I'm going to start talking about my Lord for a minute here. God, he's good. Philippians 2:3. Do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain conceit, but in humility. Consider others better than yourself. Each of you should look not only to your own interest, but also the interest of others. Your attitude should be the same as Christ Jesus, who, being in the very nature of God, did not consider equality with God something to be grasped, but made himself nothing, taking the very nature of a servant, being made in human likeness. And being found in appearance as a man, he humbled himself and became obedient to death, even death on a cross. Therefore God exalted him to the highest place and gave him the name that is above every name,
Yes.
that at the name of Jesus every knee shall bow in heaven and earth and under earth, and every tongue confess that Jesus Christ is Lord, the glory of God the Father.
Amen.
Jesus set the model right there. Case closed. Humble yourself. Satan tried to exalt himself to the highest position. He got humbled. Beyond being humbled. He's dead. He's a dead man walking. It's just a matter of time. Jesus, who is in the beginning, he's the Logos. He's the
Yes,
Word.
the word.
He is the Word itself. He spoke and things happened.
Yes.
He spoke and everything was created.
Yes.
His very first miracle in the Bible, who knows what that is?
Water and wine.
Amen. Now, he's at a Pharisee wedding, and they got 7 ceremonial pots full of water. And he shows up, and Mary says, "It's your time." He's like, "It's not my time." But he submits. And what does he do? Now remember now, this is a Pharisee wedding. Ceremonial washing pots. He speaks to the water. Changes the molecular structure to it into wine. Why? Because he can.
Yeah.
He's capable of it.
Yeah.
Did he break any laws of physics or anything like that? Did he?
Yeah.
Did he? Or did he supersede it with a law we're not aware of? When he walked on water, did he break the laws of gravity? Did Peter break the laws of gravity? Or did he supersede it with a law we're not aware of? God he won't violate his own laws and his own rules. He puts them in place for a reason. But he will supersede it because we think that we know it all. He can't possibly do that. Well, he did. He spoke on water. He walked on water. And what did Peter do? He activated his faith and kept his eyes on Jesus, and he walked on water.
Yeah.
Capable of it, but through Jesus.
Right.
Only Jesus made that possible. So anyway, I went on a little tangent there for a second. Forgive me. So, we're establishing the authority of Jesus Christ. He's the creator of it all. He can do whatever he wants, and he has a plan. So here's the setup. We have fallen man, and we need a way out. Jesus is the man.
Yeah.
I don't care what anybody says. He is the man. So, it's not like Jesus woke up one morning and said, "Oh God, what am I going to do? Oh, man, well, I'm going to go down and save the world." No, this is already laid out. Jesus is the embodiment of humility. Pride over here, humility over here. The Garden of Gethsemane was a setting stage for the ultimate example of the proper use of free will. Excuse me. The first Adam had the opportunity to make the right decision. All he had to do was not real complex. All he had to do was walk in the garden, walk with God, till the ground, because God gave him, work is what he designed us to do. It's how we relate to God, through our bodies. He gave us a body, soul, and a spirit for a reason. We glorify God through our bodies. We use our bodies for a reason. God designed it that way. So what times we fight that. God gave us a body for a reason. We relate to other human beings. We relate to God through it. He wanted us to work. And we had it all set up. All we had to do was just enjoy God and be in his presence. We had to go a little further. I want this. I want this car. I want this status. I'm better than this. God couldn't stand for that. So we get Jesus Christ, who made everything. There's nothing he can step into the world into and that he doesn't know intimately. He knows every atom, every particle. He knows it all. And that's beyond our comprehension because he's bigger than all that. Our minds are so finite and we're locked in with time and space. We're locked in. He's above all that. So Jesus steps out of heaven, creator of it all, becomes a helpless baby. Dependent on mom, dad, people around him. Chose to do God's will. God said, I need somebody to go down there and save the people, save our children. So he made the decision to step out of heaven and become a baby and start to live his life as a human being. What is humility? Meekness, lowliness, and absence of self. Greek word humility in Colossians 3:12 also means lowliness of mind. And it just baffles me to think that Jesus would be able to think of himself less than everybody else, but that's exactly what he did. He came to earth and thought of himself less than everybody else. He made everybody else first before himself. He set the model of how it is to have peace, life, and enjoy life. It wasn't to lift yourself up and exalt yourself and be high. How many of y'all have used chemicals to get yourself exalted? Why do you think they call it getting high? At those moments where you think you're Superman, powerful, unstoppable. I think better, I move faster, I do things better, all these different things. I'll tell you a little story about myself. My main addiction was steroids, power, strength. My motto in life was bigger, faster, stronger. And I lived my life that way. Everything had to be bigger, faster, stronger. When I was born, my mom, my brother before me had died a year earlier at birth. And my mom never got to see him. They took him away. She never got to hold him. Never got to say goodbye or anything. So she wanted to fill that void and have another child, and I was very, very, very loved in her stomach. But she was also ate up with fear that I was going to pass away like my brother before me, because my cousin had died from the same exact thing, a month apart. She was afraid I was going to die. She did everything she could to create an environment that was safe and controlled and metered with vitamins and all this kind of stuff, all these different things, and she was afraid, but she was always afraid I was going to die. All my life, since I was a kid, I felt like I was going to die. That things were not going to be okay. From the earliest point in my life, I felt like everything was not going to be okay. So I did, instead of humbling up and, because you don't know as a kid, you just start to learn to adapt. So I did things to try and make myself feel secure and powerful. And controlled my body, I controlled my food, I controlled my mind. I was a control freak in every aspect you could possibly imagine. I grew my life that way. I got sober when I was 15 years old. When I was using as a kid, I was out of control. By 15, I was smoking crack. I was robbing houses, ready to kill people. I was in a bad spot. God saved me at 15 years old. From 15 to 30, I was sober. During that time, my sickness turned into work, exercise, reading, knowledge, all these kinds of things. All these things, instead of turning to the Lord to ask Him for peace, for healing, I tried to do it on my own. I got this. It's my motto. I got this. I'm good. No, thank you. I got it. I ain't got it. The wheels fell off around 30 years old. Wide open, working 70 hours a week. My wife used to say she was a married single mother, but she never saw him. I was so prideful. So full of myself. God humbled me. I died in the car by myself in a dark alley. God brought me back to life. Now you would think I would have learned from that. I went to Dunklin in 2003. Things were good. Things got right. Didn't quite get the healing I needed. Didn't humble up enough. Went about 8 years, and I started to do the same thing. Working like crazy, working all the hours. My daughter got sick. I was doing all these different things to try and make life safe again. What I do, I'll go back to the gym again, things like that, to create a situation where I feel powerful and secure. Fantasy, straight fantasy. So I ripped my shoulder out of socket, completely out of socket, hanging off to the side. Have to have surgery, go bolts put in, all this kind of stuff. Surgery's messed up. Gotta go back in 6 months later and do it all over again. I'm on my butt for a year at home like this. Plenty of opportunity to humble up. What was I doing? Itching to get back in the grind again. And I did. 4 years of hell. Absolute hell for 4 years. I had no grace. I was so prideful, I refused to ask for help. God had to humble me some more. I went back to Duncan this time. Things were different. I had lost a lot more. I lost everything. Family, everything I owned, possessions, and all. And I went in the door there knowing that something had to change, something had to be different. So right from the rip, I just prayed, God, break me, break me, break me, break me, break me, break me, break me. Desperate for a healing. I had a choice. I had all the choice in the world of what I could do. There were days where I wanted to leave. Oh my God, I wanted to leave. There were times where I'd crawl up in a ball, just crying there for hours at a time, just fighting my will to just leave. Irrational decision to leave. God met me at that moment. There was a day in class, I was sitting there with some guys, and it was a prayer moment, inner healing, and God took me to a spot. I was in my room, in my house in Miami as a little kid. The room was dark, and there I was lit up. I was the only thing in there. And I could hear everything going on around me outside, and I felt this unbelievable fear that everything's not going to be okay. I'm going to die. I mean, just total panic and fear. Right at that moment, Jesus met me there. And that room was, all of a sudden, there was a window in the back of the room. Bang! And everything lit up, pure white. And I heard God speak to me clearly. Everything's going to be more than okay. From that moment, nothing has been the same in my life. Anytime that my issue, everybody has a core issue. Everybody in here has a core issue and a core lie. We all have a garden. Satan's trying to plant a lie. He's planted the lie in you early. It's still growing. If you're not having any victory in your life, it's still growing in your life. You have one issue, one lie. And all it takes is one word from the Lord and one strand of words of truth to shine light into that dark area. We all have a garden. Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane had that option at that moment to not follow on with God. He's on the ground. Disciples are praying while they're falling asleep. He keeps going back, waking them up, telling them, please just stay awake and keep praying. He's over there sweating. He's taking on the anguish of the entire world. Have you all ever felt sadness? I mean, like overwhelming sadness? Multiply that by billions. Billions. It's not fathomable. Our minds can't handle that. He's in a human body, so he's taking this on himself. He's sitting there in the garden on the ground that he created, probably on a rock, leaning on a rock that he made, he knows intimately, humbling himself up, crying on it. And he asked the Father, can you pass this from me? There's a moment where you see Jesus' will come in light for everybody. There was a human part to him. He lived in a human body. There was a very human part of him. He was fully all three parts. And that human part at that moment came up and said, really? Really? But he submitted to the Father's will. He says, not my will, but yours. The first Adam screwed it up. The second Adam, or Jesus, did it right. He knew that at that moment, he was going to die. He had full view of it. He was not in denial any of it. He knew exactly what was going to happen. Every one of us had that option to punk out. One of my favorite verses in the entire Bible. 1 Corinthians 10:13. No temptation has seized you except what is common to man, and God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, He will also provide a way out.
Yes.
So that way you can stand up under it. I just took away every one of y'all's excuse for making a bad decision. Gone. There's no more excuse. I just ruined any opportunity you ever want to use again or make a poor decision. You're without excuse now. Forgive me if I did that. You weren't ready for that. So you have the why at every decision now, where you can go left or you can go right. Can't blame it on mama. Can't blame it on work. Can't blame it on your friends. blame it on you. It's your decision. It's not like God didn't say he's going to not give you a way out. It says right there, he will provide a way out. How many of y'all have been in a decision where you know you were going to make a bad decision and you're like, whatever, I'm going to do it my way. That is no different than what Satan would say himself.
Yep.
That right there is being a child of the devil at that moment, instead of being a child of God. Granted, now, you can be saved and your mind does not quite line up yet with what your spirit's telling you to do at that moment. Subject that body to the cross. That's what Jesus did. He set the model for us. He knew what had to be done, and he knew the cross was in front of him, and he made the decision to move forward. When we have those moments, you wonder why your flesh, oh, my flesh is so strong. It's because you keep making mouth to mouth to it. You're breathing into a dead corpse. Every time you do something that tantalizes your flesh, you're breathing life back into it again. You need to kill that thing. Everybody has pet sins. Little things that, well, it's okay. It's all right. No, it's not all right. If there's no conviction there, I seriously doubt what's going on inside your heart. But if the Spirit of God lives in you, there's conviction. And there's that moment where God's saying, I love you. I've got a way out for you. Choose me over your sin. Make sense?
Good. Yeah.
So, without excuse in there. You heard that excuse, that saying, you were now without excuse. Well, you were now without excuse. Now, Galatians, just got out of time here. Where I am weak, he is strong. His power is made perfect in my weakness. So I will boast even more of my weakness, so the power of Christ may rest upon me. There it is. It's the second part of it. Lord, I'm weak in this temptation. Humble up. God gives grace to the humble. They resist the proud. Simple. Temptation, humility. Humility comes grace. Grace is the power to do the right thing.
Yes.
That's God's power to us. It's his promise to us. It's available. It's there. It's just a choice of whether or not we're going to accept it. Now, where you're at in your walk with all that, I don't know. But if you're not having a victorious life, look at your decisions that you're making. Small ones. And it will slow. Maybe he's asking you to give up something in your life. Maybe it's smoking. Maybe it's the midnight snacks. Guilty. You know? So, anyway, that's my charge to you. Jesus set the model. I am meek, I am lowly, I am humble. I've come to serve, I've come to wash feet. I've come to make other people more important than myself. Choose to do that. Or not. And keep going around the mountain. Every knee will bow. Every tongue will confess. Might as well do it on this side and enjoy some of the benefits.
Yeah.
You're going to do it anyway. Might as well do it now. Submit. And be aware of the fact that God's created all the circumstances in your life for this very moment, for this time, to hear this word. Somebody in here tonight, their brain's unlocking a little bit. Somebody's mind's going, oh. And I pray that that seed goes in deep. Something changes, because there's no reason to have to keep going around the same mountain again and again. You're without excuse. Thank you all for letting me talk tonight. I appreciate it.